Welcome back to Analista de la Liga with me, Terry Gibson. Domestic football is back, and La Liga, most importantly, is back as well. And a lot to look forward to this weekend. In week 13, I did a couple of posts, giving a little summary of the season so far. There was a title race, and as I said in one of my posts, I apologise to Villarreal for not including them in the title race, despite them being third, ahead of Atletico Madrid. There's no doubt in the quality of their squad. There's no doubt in the depth of their squad. I just find it hard to give them a possibility of overcoming Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid as the season progresses. But fantastic start from them so far. It's difficult to tell at the bottom, mid-table. There's going to be a lot of changes, I think, as the season progresses. Some teams are currently in trouble. Two of the newly promoted teams are down amongst where you'd expect them to be. Elche are slightly higher. So I'm looking forward to, again this week, some interesting matchups, starting with possibly the biggest game of the weekend. That's the Friday night match. We start our Week 13 programme with Valencia against Levante. Valencia currently 17th in the table, just 10 points. Levante below them, one of those newly promoted teams I was talking about. They've got 9 points, so just a points gap. What makes this interesting, both teams have won only 2 games from 12 so far this season. Both are struggling. Levante have 9 points, and 8 of those have come in away games. So therefore, their 2 wins have come away from home. With Carl Etteri Young and Ivan Romero up front, they do have the potential to score goals against Valencia. And Valencia, as I say, are struggling. It's looking for a bright spot from Valencia this season so far, and probably Arnaud Danjuma is the bright spot for them. He's the one player with the potential to score goals in this match, and has done this season. My one complaint would be every goal he scores is an absolute worldie. So he's been the bright spot for Valencia. Last week they really struggled to... Lucas Beltran played up front ahead of Hugo Duro. I still think Hugo Duro is the best prospect for them to be amongst the goals on a regular basis for Valencia. So as I said, this one is a difficult one to call. But Valencia drew last time at home against Real Betis, which is a decent scoreline. It was a late equaliser. But they did get a point, so let's give them a little boost. As I say, I fancy Levante to get something from this match. As I say, a very impressive away form. They're 7th in La Liga in the away table. So I'm going to go for Levante to get something from this game. I'm going to go for a score draw. So that takes us on to Saturday's fixtures. Alaves against Celta is the first kick-off of the day. I've banged on this season so far about the impressive form of Alaves, and particularly at home. So I'm going to go for a home win against a Celta team who had some bright spots against Barcelona in the last game, particularly in the first half, but struggled in the second half. European game coming up. I think they're on the way back, but then they falter slightly. But I think even if they were at their best, Celta, I think this is going to be a tough game. I'm not predicting a heavy outcome. I'm just predicting a home victory for Alaves in this one. And then we come to Barcelona against Athletic Club. One of my posts just 2 or 3 days ago, I said I'm not sure where this game was going to be played, and I presumed it was going to be at the Montjuic still. But it's a return home for Barcelona at the Camp Nou. 40-odd thousand people going to be allowed in. It's 909 days since they last played in this stadium. That wasn't expected. It was probably 300, at least 300 days longer than anticipated. To the extent that the last time they played in this stadium, Xavi was manager. They were winning the league title. It was the last game for Barcelona for Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, and Ansu Fati got a couple of goals. And they were lifting the league title. In the remaining game of that season, they lost away from home at Celta Vigo. The title was already run. They already had the trophy. No Sergio Busquets, no Jordi Alba that didn't make the treble to Vigo to play in that game. So this just goes to show how much it's changed. A whole host of players that play for Barcelona now, and the manager hasn't played or hasn't been competitive in this stadium yet. So all the young ones, of course, Kubasi and Casado and Jean Garcia is just recently signed for Barcelona. He's back from injury in this game, so that's a big plus for Barcelona. As I say, Hansi Flick hasn't managed there. Dani Olmo, it's his second season. It's going to be his first game as a Barcelona player in the Camp Nou. Marcus Rashford falls into that category as well. So it's going to be... They're going to put on a party for this. Saturday afternoon, it's the 4:15 local kick-off time, so 3:15 in the UK. And it's a good game for Barcelona against Athletic Club, a team who started the season off well, won the first 3 games, scored 6 goals, and it's all gone downhill from there. 6 goals in their last 9 games. So they've only scored 12 this season. As I say, 6 came in the first 3. At that stage, I wasn't impressed with their performances, but their results were good. But since then, they've just faltered. So this is a good fixture for Barcelona, to be honest. And one of the traditional major clubs of La Liga to open the new stadium. As I say, half of the new stadium anyway. No Athletic Club supporters are allowed. The logistics were too difficult to allow away fans in. Hopefully that's going to change soon, because away fans do add to the atmosphere. And of course, a return to the Camp Nou for Ernesto Valverde, who won a couple of titles and a Copa del Rey with Barcelona. So it's something to look forward to. As I said, I've described Barcelona as a banged up football club that needed a home, needed to go back somewhere, needed to have a permanent basis to play again. A couple of games in the training ground this season. The uncertainty of where they were going to be starting this season, back in the last season, where they were going to be playing. The uncertainty at the start of the season when they had to play 2 games in the training ground. They've had injury issues. As I say, Joan Garcia is back. Rafinha is back for this game as well. They're expecting Pedri to be back for the Chelsea game, or Alaves next week. No Frankie de Jong, who's suspended, so no Frankie de Jong, no Pedri. That's a bonus for Athletic Club. But they have their issues as well. There's no Iñaki Williams. He's out through injury. Nico Williams got a fantastic goal in the last game, the winning 1-0 against Oviedo. It wasn't an impressive performance, but it was a massively impressive goal. So it's a kind fixture, I think, this one for Barcelona, despite missing Pedri, despite missing Frankie de Jong. Hansi Flick be delighted to have Rafinha back and Joan Garcia, so I'm going to go for a home victory in that one for Barcelona to christen the new Camp Nou. Then we go to Osasuna against Real Sociedad. Osasuna have this 1 point away from home records. They only scored 1 goal. They've been pretty good in their home stadium. And Real Sociedad, I thought we were seeing signs of them on the up. But I wasn't impressed with the performance against Elche last time out. They were fortunate to get an equaliser with a late penalty from Oyarzabal. So I'm going to go for a home victory for Osasuna. Budimir missed the last game. Is he going to be back for this one? I presume so. He has to be. Otherwise they don't score goals. So despite that, I'm going to go for an Osasuna victory in that one. I'm also going to go for a home victory for Villarreal against Mallorca on Saturday night. A game I'm co-commentating on. I'm actually co-commentating on the Barcelona v Athletic game as well. Having the Osasuna versus Real Sociedad game off, and then coming back on to do Villarreal against Mallorca. Mallorca got a good win last time out. That was really important. They've struggled to pick up points so far this season. When you look at their squad, I mean, they got the win against Getafe 1-0. When you look at their squad, it's a really good squad. I'm looking at the benches, really good players. They had this difficult fixture list at the start of the season, and it drained away the confidence. But in this game, I think they're up against a formidable team. Villarreal at the moment are the hardest team to predict who's going to start, who's going to play. Who's going to play up front? Is it Oluwaseyi? Is it going to be Gerard Moreno, as it was last time out in La Liga? You've got Mika Townsy on the bench, you've got Ayosi Perez on the bench. It's a lovely luxury for Marcelino to have. As I say, there's 24 senior players in his squad, and it's really difficult to predict who's going to start. But he's getting it right. Room for improvement, of course, in the Champions League. That's a given. They have to do better in the Champions League. There's a game coming up in the week as well. But in this game, I think they're just going to have too much for Mallorca. Whichever team he picks, Alberto Melero is proving to be a star. I mean, a fantastic signing for about 20 million euros from Las Palmas. Talented young player, and he's really thriving at the moment. So I'm going to go for home victory for Villarreal. Sunday we start with Oviedo against Rayo. I've ummed and ahed about this one because Oviedo are bottom of the league. They've only scored 7 goals, 3 of those come in one game. So it's easy to say Rayo Vallecano got the draw against Real Madrid in the last game. Yes, away win. But Oviedo, if they can find a goal or two, defensively, there's been issues as well. As newly promoted team with lots of players being changed. Sacked their manager already and they've gone down that road. but they're nearly a good team. Even the last game away from home against Athletic Club, it took an exceptional goal from Nico Williams to beat them 1-0. So I'm Denard. The obvious one I was going to go Rio, but I think Oviedo got a draw in them. So whether they've got goals in them or not, I'm not so sure. So, but it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I'm going to go for Oviedo to actually pick up a draw in this one. Then we go Betis against Girona is the next game on Sunday. I'm going to go for a home win for Betis for obvious reasons. Girona's defence is poor. They did get a win last time out, which massively helped their cause. A win against Alaves at home, again 1-0. Betis, the good news for Betis fans, Isco is back. And good news for me. I love watching Isco play. I've never shied away from saying that he's one of the players I most enjoy watching in La Liga for whoever he's played for. And he's an absolute superstar. He's idolised at Betis. So I don't expect him to start. Pretty much everybody at Betis is fit and available for Manuel Pellegrini. European football coming up as well in midweek. I don't expect Isco to start, but I expect that when he does warm up, we'll know about it. So I'm going to go for the home win for Betis. Then we go into one of the big games, one of the crunch ones, Getafe against Atletico Madrid. It was around March last season when everything fell apart for Atletico Madrid, and it was this game against Getafe where they lost 2-0. They were up 1-0, 15 minutes to go. Adam Barry got 2 goals. Marouane Barry got 2 goals. And it really knocked the stuffing out of Atletico Madrid. It come around the time they lost the Copa del Rey semi-final to Barcelona. They went out of the Champions League against Real Madrid in controversial circumstances, as it happened. And this was the culmination of a poor month and just the end of their season. Do I expect the same outcome this time? I don't, actually. And I think that Atleti know exactly what they're up against. They normally beat Getafe. So that was a one-off. Simeone normally beats a Bordeaux team. But last season, you look at the Getafe form this season. Healthy position, 8th position, 17 points. They haven't spent a lot of money. They haven't made too many changes. They're really punching above their weight again. They've only conceded 4 at home. That's the big stat. But they've only played 5. They've only scored 6. So I do expect a low-scoring outcome. I'm going to go with an away win in this one. I'm going to go for Atletico Madrid. No Julian Alvarez, doubtful. But I'm not going to start crying for them. They've got Antoine Griezmann who come off the bench in the game against Levante and scored 2 goals. Alexander Soroth, who's irritated and angry that he's not playing and not starting on a regular basis, so he'll be up for it. Raspadori is fit and available again, so 3 talented strikers to pick from for Simeone. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Atletico Madrid in this one. It's going to be tight, but they've got no room for error. So they have to make sure they get the win, as I say, they normally do. Last season was a one-off. Then we go into the late Sunday game, Elche against Real Madrid. This is an really interesting one. The obvious victory, Real Madrid. I still am going to go down that road. But we've got an Elche team that play a really high defensive line. I'll let you in a little secret here. Elche, we co-commentate and commentate off tube. So we're watching it on a monitor. They're the hardest team to co-commentate on in La Liga because of their kit, because of the camera angle at the stadium. It's a white kit with a big green band around it with a black number on. If you're familiar with the players, it's not too bad. But even from a distance with the camera angle, you look at it and think, is that number 4 or is that 14? It's really difficult. It didn't help when they played Barcelona and Eres Sarabia changed the whole team about. And I'm not talking about personnel. I'm talking about he played his right back at left back, his left back at right back. He played a left back as one of the 3 central defenders. It was where you hope you're going to get familiarity with the team when you're not. It's not that clever seeing the numbers, and you hope you recognise the individuals. The last thing you need is a manager doing that. Anyway, that's just something that's a little anecdote about how it's not always plain sailing co-commentating off tube, and Elche are the toughest in La Liga this season to do. Now, how do they play? They play at the back, they get it into the front, they defend with a really high defensive line, so it's quite comical at times watching them play Barcelona, with both teams doing it. And they do have a threat up front. Rafa Mir, Andre Silva, Alvaro Rodriguez can cause you problems. 3 strong, powerful centre-forwards, traditional centre-forwards. Do they get the ball forward and lump it in the box? No, that's not their style. But they might be up against a Real Madrid team who don't have Dean Howson and don't have Eder Militao. So there's both injury doubts about the pair of them. So they might be playing against Real Asensio and David Alaba, or Tchouaméni playing in the centre-back position. So that gives Elche a slight chance. It will be competitive, but I'm just going to go for the narrow victory for Real Madrid. Xabi Alonso, ridiculously, is under massive pressure. The games are counting down now. They're predicting the game where, before Christmas, I think they play Man City. They're saying that's the pivotal game. Because they drew with Raya, because they lost to Liverpool, because they lost to PSG in the Club World Cup, it's lost to Atletico Madrid. But people are forgetting he's won pretty much every other game. So it's the nature of being a Real Madrid. It's the beast of being a Real Madrid manager, I guess. So I'm going to go for a Real Madrid victory in this one. Monday night we wrap up proceedings with Espanyol against Sevilla. Espanyol flying at the moment. Sevilla are struggling, but they did get a win last time out against Osasuna. Injured players coming back. Isaac Romero is back for Sevilla. Alexis Sanchez is back for Sevilla, and Lucien Agume is back for Sevilla as well. So that helps Matias Almeida. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Espanyol are finding wins, and victories hard to come by in recent matches. They're in a really healthy position in the league. They're flying in the league, to be honest. I mean, I think 8th position, much better than expected. But I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I think Sevilla have got capabilities. Defensively, they're good. Picking up a point, which takes them into the following week, where it's the Sevilla derby. And I'm so glad I'm on co-coms for that one next week. One of my favourite games of La Liga. Possibly the favourite. The atmosphere, the rivalry and everything. So that's to look forward to next week. So that's my Week 13 preview. Looking forward to, as I say, being out in Madrid, commentating on 3 games. Enjoy your weekend's action, and we'll catch up soon.